you do something that most of us who whether we call ourselves investors or anything, you're able to switch from using short-term volatility issues. By the way, everybody, volatility is just the movements in prices when it goes really, really crazy in the markets like we've had basically the last 2 years. But you're able to use those short period of times and actually think and use it to your advantage to just make like option plays, which is something that to me is still like extremely difficult for me to even like compute, because I'm like, yeah, just, focus on the long term. But then you're like, yeah, well, I see volatility doing this and I can make that adjustment. So it's kind of interesting hearing you say, like, at the same time, you still have struggles with the other part of it.
Yeah, it's just like the hard for me is the speculative part where it's like you chase momentum. Yeah. My brain is wired to be a contrarian. So like the volatility, like my favorite time, it's messed up, but like when there's a ton of fear in the market, I'm like, oh, let's go. Yeah. I'm licking my chops, right? Because everyone's panicking. There's like a 10% pullback, and people that are over speculating leverage get absolutely wrecked. Whereas like that's when I'm deploying a little bit more capital because I'm thinking long term. I'm like, I don't care about the short term. Mm-hmm. Who cares? Whatever, 10%. We'll bounce back. And so like that is where I'm pretty good. And that is where like the logical side helps. What's tough is when, we hit an all-time high and it seems like we're in this crazy euphoric stage. And then I hold back and the market keeps on pushing even higher. That's where the contrarian side hurts me because I'm not using the momentum side, which has done pretty well in 2020, 21.
Yeah. Which goes to, that's definitely a good point. Like it's like for every move, it's like, this might keep going. But then it's kind of like I believe your favorite investor is Peter Lynch, right? Which you kind of introduced me to the whole world of Peter Lynch. And I'm just like, when I started reading his books, I was just like, this makes so much more. Because I started off with Benjamin Graham style. Then I read Peter Lynch. And then I was like, I prefer this guy a lot more. And I like his, even though they're both kind of the same, but it's different also. Very different.
The Benjamin Graham style is too extreme. And I think it's almost like you won't even touch anything at this point if you follow his advice. Yeah. Whereas Peter Lynch, what I liked about him is he looked at investments based on growth. So it's like you can have a high growth company in your portfolio, even if it's trading at a higher multiple, if it's growing fast, like it makes sense. Whereas like, Warren Buffett or Benjamin Graham, they will never touch that stock because it's trading at a high multiple. Yep. It's like, well, that's a little silly. Like, I don't know, like it's okay to have some growth in there. It can't always be just value.
Yep.
And I think the big difference is like back in the day before technology, you could just like go through random stocks and like read annual reports that weren't on websites.
Yep.
Like at this point, any arbitrage related to value, it's found by a computer like instantly.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, like I feel like that arbitrage that like Warren Buffett used to make a lot of his money is gone.
Yep.
Investing in like really distressed companies during really bad times, I think is using like the Warren Buffett kind of methodology, and like you can make a ton of money from that. But like that was the pandemic. That was like the time where it was like, oh, all these companies are going bankrupt. And no, they'll be fine.
We're going to come out of this one way or another.
Fine.
Yeah. I hope you enjoyed that little snippet of the Rambling Mind podcast. If you want more of the Rambling Mind podcast, or if you want to listen to the whole episode that you just heard, go check it out on any podcast listening platform, whether that be Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Breaker, Stitcher. I could go on, but you guys already know which podcast you love to use to listen to. So go check it out. Link down in the description as well. I'm going to catch y'all later. Peace.